Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion, and the IPL is here. And so in this video I'm gonna be going through the 10 teams and quickly running through their retentions and then giving my views on who I think they should buy in this auction. So before I start, I'd like to say I'd like to kind of point out two things. So first, the reason why I know that the retentions for the original 8 franchises were confirmed quite a while back. And the reason why I didn't do a video about those is because the name or the retentions for the 2 new franchises hadn't been finalized. And so I've had to make a separate video only for those 2. I like to usually make longer videos. So if I had to make a separate video for those, then I wouldn't have had any previous pitch inferences to go back on because since these are newly incepted franchises, there have been no trends to look back from previous seasons. And also, I think that it's kind of going into my other point. My next point is the fact that this prediction will probably be quite a lot harder than the last one, and that's because it's a mega auction, and that means that if you even look in this auction, teams are going with 2 to 4 players in their roster going into the auction. So quite a few players will fit into any of the teams, and that's the reason why if you already have 2 franchises that are newly incepted and you don't have any kind of pitch inferences from before, and that too you only have their retentions and they could buy pretty much anyone, I think that it would have been quite hard to make a decently long video out of that. I'm going to start off with one of the new teams, and that team being the Gujarat Titans. So this team, I think, is probably have made one of the most, or if not the most exciting retention choices. And first of all, I'm going to start with Shubman Gill. They've retained Shubman Gill, signed Shubman Gill for 8 crores. Now, I'm quite surprised that Shubman Gill ended up here, considering that not so long ago there was talk about him being the future KKR captain and really being a mainstay of the franchise. And then since the emergence of Venkatesh Iyer in the second half of last season, they've actually retained him ahead of Shubman Gill, and he's been signed by the Gujarat Titans. And so he's a very good player, an all-format player, and I'm sure that he will do well for this franchise. Then Rashid Khan, probably one of the best bowlers in this tournament. 15 crores, quite a hefty sum of money they've signed him for, but again, I think it'll be worth every penny of that amount. And I think, look, one of the best bowlers in this competition can do quite well with the bat as well, low down the order. Yeah, it's a no-brainer to sign him if you have the opportunity, and they did just that. Now, Hardik Pandya. So the reason why I'm most excited to see this team is because Hardik Pandya, the way he plays in the side, and also the fact that he's captaining the side, and it's something which he hasn't done in IPL cricket. So it'll be this extra sense of responsibility. It'll be quite interesting to see how he goes about things. But there are 2 sides to the coin. So one, there's that excitement if you see Hardik Pandya the player and the prospect of him captaining a side. But the other side is that he's been troubled by injury, especially over this past year. He hasn't played much cricket, and since the T20 World Cup, he hasn't played any cricket. And in the 2021 IPL season, it was a combination of rust from injury, and also I think that he wasn't really up to full fitness in the games that he was playing. And also the fact that if you look in the first half of the season of the IPL 2021, it was in India. They played a lot of games in Chennai where the lower orders found it hard to have an impact. And that's why him and Pollard struggled, especially in India in the previous season. But more on the rust side, I think the reason why his form hasn't been great is because, and it's not because of anything that he's doing wrong, it's because of the rust due to injury. He's playing with injury. And there's also a question mark on his bowling as well. So all of these things, and they've signed him for 15 crores and he's captaining a side. And I think their home stadium is the Narendra Modi Stadium, which is where these 3 ODIs have took place in the India versus West Indies ODI series. So if what we've seen in those ODIs if they serve as a theme for this surface that they'll use for the IPL side, then Hardik Pandya may struggle if he's not up to a decent level of fitness, if his injury is not relatively manageable. And I think they'd want to get a few overs out of him as well. He'd want to get a few overs out of himself. So it's interesting. It's really two sides to the coin. One, there's all the excitement signing that kind of a player. Two, the context of the now. It's quite it'll be intriguing. It'll be intriguing. Sorry, it'll be intriguing to see how that goes and who they can sign. If based on the conditions, if it is anything like what we've seen in the ODIs, I think you probably would need someone to transcend the surface, especially with Shubman Gill, who doesn't really go hard at the top. So I think Johnny Bairstow would be an excellent signing for them. There's going to be competition for him. SRH would probably want to buy him back. Well, they probably would do. And I think a lot of franchises would want that impact player up at the top. So they're going to have some competition. Two more teams as well. So they are one of the two new teams. So increased competition to get players, which is a big part of this auction. And they will probably be looking to get a statement signing up at the top of the order who really gives the team a fast start to give Shubman Gill a little bit of time, and then Shubman Gill can come good as well. And it's just that they've got considering if the pitch if the pitch conditions are the same like in these ODIs, then I think the fact that you have Rashid Khan in the side is just absolutely brilliant. He's already one of the best bowlers in this competition, and having conducive conditions to bowl in, I really think that it will make his life so much more. I mean, he already made things look easy, but especially now, I think he'll really enjoy it. And yeah, apart from him, and as I said before, it's about the. I actually, as I said before, it's hard to say who these teams will buy because a lot of these players can get into any side, like Johnny Bairstow. But I really think that they've established a good spine with the opening batsman, the middle order, or the middle order finisher, and especially the fact that seam bowling all-rounders are very rare in India. And I know there's a question mark around Hardik's bowling, but whether he bowls or not, the fact that they've got a finisher even before they've gone into the auction is such a good thing. And one of the best players and best bowlers in this competition. So yeah. I think it's quite an exciting retention, and they've got, I think, 52 crores to spend in the auction. So yeah, let's see how things go for them. And then the other new franchise, the Lucknow Super Giants. So they have retained KL Rahul, Marcus Stoinis and Ravi Bishnoi. And on Marcus Stoinis, it says 9.2 crores on Cricinfo, and I think it may be slightly higher than that. But you may think why they retained him for that sum of money. And at first, look, I didn't expect him to be in the fray for pre-auction signings at all. But now that soon after they kind of announced the news, I actually thought it's quite an intelligent signing because again the finisher in the middle order and also that seam bowling all-rounder and that Marcus Stoinis is. I actually think that once again it'll kind of be like they don't have to go looking for a first choice finisher and all-rounder when they're going into the auction. Life will be made quite a lot easier for them that they've signed him before the auction. KL Rahul, one of the best players in the tournament, probably the best contributing batsman of the tournament at this point in time. 17 crores, the joint highest paid player. So a hefty sum of money, but as I said, with Rashid Khan, worth every penny. And Ravi Bishnoi, this may have been the case of Rahul probably wanting to captain him in this franchise, since that he would have thought that he did quite well in his previous one. And for 4 crores, I actually think that it's quite a steal to have Ravi Bishnoi in the side. I was surprised that Punjab didn't retain him. And who they can get, it'll be interesting because they've already got... I think they'll want to establish, this goes without saying, but establish a really good opening partnership, and I mean want to rival that of Rahul's former opening partnership between him and Mayank Agarwal. It's not going to be easy to do, but since they've got a spine, as I said, of probably one of the best batsmen in the competition, if not the best in terms of his output, also Marcus Stoinis and Bishnoi, you've got a good spine there. You've actually got kind of the same spine that the Gujarat Titans have if you look at positions filled in the 11. So I actually think that, yeah, they've done quite well as well. 59 crores for them, and let's see how they go. And yeah, I don't really have any pitch data for them because I think I've seen, if their stadium is a Lucknow stadium, I think I've seen a game or two, especially one played in the Duleep Trophy some years ago. But apart from that, certainly not enough to establish any trends on that kind of surface. So yeah. And before I go on to the next franchise, I think there's a huge thing about this auction, which it's going to, the competition for players is going to be increased because of the two new franchises. And based on previous season, especially after this season, leading up to the finalised retentions, the two sides that really wouldn't have wanted a mega auction would have been the Mumbai Indians and the Delhi Capitals, because they'll be scratching their heads as to who they can retain. And I think that's the thing where if you look at the sides in the other end of the spectrum, like Punjab Kings and Rajasthan Royals, and you think they wouldn't, in fact, they'd probably want a mega auction. And that's where, if you look, the IPL is such a high standard tournament, the best T20 league in the world, with the money involved in it. The fact that all the sides have an equal purse and 10 crores more this year as well. There really is no excuse for two teams to be not wanting a mega auction and the other two teams to be desperately wanting one. And I think the thing that I want to say here is that I think every side is entitled to the best players, and it goes without saying. But if you look at how complete a Mumbai Indians and the Delhi Capitals have been, and you look at the sides in the lower end of the table, like a Punjab and a Rajasthan, and you think they're in the same auction, and yet the caliber of players that they get, despite the fact that they're all good players in this auction pool, if you look at the players, the standout players really in the Delhi Capitals and the Mumbai Indians, and even more than the way that they gel as well, I just think that in such a high standard tournament as this, I think that the squads have to be, maybe if those stars, the players that were in the Mumbai Indians and the Delhi Capitals were kind of spread around evenly amongst the original 8 teams, that like it was in the last season, then maybe there wouldn't be any side that's grumbling about the mega auction. And if they hadn't introduced these two teams, and if every side was relatively happy with their core, there may not have even been a mega auction this year. So that's the reason why I'm saying that each side is entitled to the best players, and I really think that if the other teams that would have wanted this mega auction, if they make the statement signings that let's say the teams at the top, the higher end of the table would make, it would do really well for them. And then I'm going to go to the defending champions, the Chennai Super Kings. They retained Ravindra Jadeja, MS Dhoni, Moeen Ali and Ruturaj Gaikwad. Now, Jadeja for 16 crores, quite a lot of money. Dhoni for 12 crores, again, quite a lot of money. And one thing I want to say about his retentions is that I think Shardul Thakur were quite hard done by, because it's the fact that, okay, they may be looking to buy him back, but also it would have made more sense for the management to retain him instead of Moeen Ali, because if you look at both those two players, in this league, it would be Shardul Thakur is more likely to fit in the plans of most of the other franchises, whereas Moeen Ali, he isn't, despite the fact that he's such a good commodity in T20 cricket. But is he the more likely than Thakur, a local player to, and especially as I said, the dearth of seam bowling all-rounders in India. If you look at those things, then Thakur is more likely to be in other teams' plans than Moeen Ali is, and also it's just that means there'll be quite a bit of a bidding war for him. So they could have just avoided this situation, at least to a certain extent, by retaining Thakur and buying Moeen Ali back. And yeah, I think they would have certainly saved a bit of money, because now they're going to have to go and really bid for Thakur. I'd be surprised if they get him for a relatively cheaper amount. But apart from that, very good retentions. I think that the Faf du Plessis, they'll buy him back, because it's like however well he plays, Faf du Plessis will always be underrated. And so CSK, I think, max 5.5 crores, they should be able to buy him back, despite the fact that his output is better than most players in this tournament. He's just very underrated, unfortunately, for him. So, and it's fortunate for CSK because they can afford to not retain him and just buy him back all the time. So yeah, that's on him. And the top three of Gaikwad, Duplessis, and Moeen Ali is really a fabulous top three. Dhoni now, he has to do more than what he did with the bat in the previous season. He's still the best captain in this tournament, the best or second best keeper in this tournament, because I think if Saha is picked by someone, which he probably will be, then I'm sure he'll be the best. But he has to probably do more this tournament with the bats, and I'm not sure how much if he wouldn't be playing any professional cricket apart from the IPL, and he'll probably have net sessions and kind of intra squad practice games, if that's the right term, and they're nowhere near enough. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this tournament. But I'm sure that he has something figured out, whether it'll be in his batting or how the other stuff compensates for that. And there's a thing where with CSK, I've based on what I've heard, trying to buy back Thakur, trying to buy back Duplessis and Bravo, I think as well. If a lot of the team composition is going to be the same, I think they shouldn't fall into the trap of really going overboard with it, because if you look at the middle order last season, it does need a reshuffle. And I hope that they combine it with the thing of a successful franchise, which they are, a successful team which won the previous season, the good things from that, and then really get some new players in. And I really think an Indian middle order for them, someone, I think Tripathi, Nitish Rana, those kind of players, I really think that would be quite a good signings. And I referred to this quite some months ago, the Word document that I made on CSK and what I thought their future side would look like, or what I thought it should look like. And I made this at the end of the IPL 2020 season, a rather dismal season for CSK. And so I actually put Kane Williamson as the captain. And so I felt quite, I felt a bit, let down, let's say, when SRH made him captain midway through the 2021 season, which I don't think it helped them either. It would have helped CSK if he was captain for CSK, so it would have been a win-win for both sides, that they didn't have to play SRH didn't have to play Williamson all the time, and CSK would have probably one of the best captains in the world, and he would fit into the CSK team probably, because at that point you kind of thought Faf du Plessis' season a bit tapered off in the second half, and so you kind of thought Williamson is probably, he's younger than Faf du Plessis, so I thought that he would be a great choice for captain, but unfortunately SRH retained him, so that wasn't the case. I still think Kuldeep Yadav will be a great signing for CSK, because now he featured in the third ODI today, and he's not in KKR's plans probably, because he hasn't played for KKR in a while. They already have Narayan and Chakravarti. And if they do, I heard a rumor on CricBuzz, I think, that someone else said that they were, before some seasons back, they were kind of using in the Eden Gardens, where using a method where one side of the pitch is catered for seam bowlers and the other side of the pitch catered for spinners. I'm not sure if it's still going on now, but if it is just a belter of a track and the pace is mostly bowled in it, even if there's something for the spinners, I just feel like Narayan and Chakravarti will be the players that start the spin duo, probably the best spin duo right now in the IPL in terms of output. And there wouldn't be any room for Kuldeep Yadav in that side. So I think Dhoni can really revitalize Kuldeep Yadav's career, I think. And a left arm leg spinner would give more variety to the CSK attack, even if he doesn't play every game. And I think with him and Ashwin, the reason why I'm saying those two, putting those in the same boat, is because not about performance, but about buying them. Obviously, Ashwin's probably the most relatable CSK player after MS Dhoni. But the problem is, or not problem, but there's two sides to it. One, you look at the emotion of buying our Ashwin back to CSK. It'll be a great thing. I'd be very happy with it if he does come back to CSK. Same with Dinesh Karthik as well. I know he hasn't played for CSK before, and that's the thing. Him being Tamil, and I believe is the best finisher in the world, I'll be quite happy if he comes back to CSK. But with Ashwin, it's kind of like, and with Kuldeep as well, as far as the game time they're going to get, is because CSK usually like to go with, they don't really go with a front line off spinner or spinner in the recent years. They go with, especially in the last season, Jadeja and Moeen Ali. They don't play a front line spinner. They played the pacers. And if I'm not sure where the IPL is gonna happen this year as far as the home stadiums of the franchises. They're thinking it'll be around the Mumbai area. So would there be as much turn, and so would you prioritize playing spinners? And as far as the team composition, as I said, Jadeja and Moeen Ali with what they offer with the bat. Ashwin's not a bad batsman, but you'd pick those two to bat in a T20 game, and so they're in the team for what they offer with the bat, and so because of that, would Ashwin really fit in the team composition, especially if the IPL games for CSK are not held in Chennai? Then I'm not sure. Same with Kuldeep Yadav as well. And with I think Dinesh Karthik would fit in, well, kind of fit into this team. The only reason why I say kind of is because they've already got a keeper batsman, and it'll be interesting to see where would he bats. Would you have two players in Dinesh Karthik and Dhoni that don't bowl? Then it'll be interesting to see, because I think that Moeen Ali at 3, it could work. I'll be quite happy if Dinesh Karthik signs for CSK. I'll be happy if any of the 3 sign for CSK, really, in the players that I mentioned. But yeah, I think that it'll be quite interesting to see tomorrow where those 3 players go. And also the fact that this wasn't imperative, but at that point Moeen Ali hadn't been signed, so I said Washington Sundar to kind of be that finger spinner, left-hander. And now that Moeen Ali is signed, it's not really compulsory, but once again it'll be interesting to see where he goes as well. So that's on CSK, 48 crores, so not as much as the other franchises that I mentioned, but still they have a core that they've set. They know who they're going to buy back, and I think they'll be able to buy those players back. Will be a bit more effort for Deepak Thakur, but I think they should do it. And yeah, that's on CSK, and let's see what they do. Then the team I'm going to talk about is, I'll talk about 3 teams. Punjab Kings. Now, they've actually only retained 2 players, Mayank Agarwal and Arshdeep Singh. So 12 crores and 4 crores respectively. Now, you may think it's on the higher side for Mayank Agarwal, but I think he's worth at least 10 crores. Because, yeah, I think he's right now probably the 3rd best all-format player in the world for me. And I think he's really committed to this project. He chose to stay, even though there's opening partner who they've had so much success in the franchise, and also open the batting for India as well when Rohit Sharma isn't available in Test cricket. I think that he's really committed to this project. Mayank Agarwal, they've retained Arshdeep Singh, I thought he was their best seamer in the last season. And I think they could have retained 1 or 2 more players. I thought Shah Rukh Khan they should have retained, but also there's a thing where these domestic players, would they accept 6 crores, especially the commodity that Shah Rukh Khan is, especially in this auction. I'd kind of think that he would think he could get quite a bit more than that. So that's probably the reason why they didn't retain him, because he wouldn't have wanted to stay. And also Bishnoi, I think that, look, if Lucknow Super Giants could have signed him for 4 crores, I think it's a steal. And Punjab Kings should have signed him as well, but maybe he didn't want to stay, I'm not sure. But honestly, many players wouldn't want to stay in Punjab Kings because, as I said, out of all the franchises in the IPL, the environment internally in that team really is not great, and I think that the coaches in some franchises have too much power over the team, too much influence in the team, and I think that cricket is the captain's game, and I think that that's the reason why, because of all these uncertainties in the Punjab Kings side, that the team's performance has been suffering. And they've bought quite some high-profile players, and yet it's just not worked for them at all. And especially in the bowling department, where, as I said, they've bought players like, especially 2 in Filion they bought, and then they bought Chris Jordan, who is, as I said, a better athlete than he is a bowler. And I just think that even if you saw last season when they had 53 crores, and if you look at yes, they bought Meredith and Jai Richardson, but if you look at overall and think, what did they do to really improve the core of their team? And in the end, you could say many of the same problems in the previous seasons were there in this latest season, and that's why you think that 53 crores didn't really solve much at all, because the bowlers that they did buy in the end, they didn't play the second half of the season because they just weren't there in the side, because they didn't turn up because I think COVID restrictions. But Also, the fact is the fact is that they didn't have the greatest of time in the first half. I still think they could give another chance to Meredith, because I thought that he did bowl in the methods that you usually see him bowl, hitting the hard lengths and getting the ball to rise. Jai Richardson just didn't have a great time, so I'm not sure where those two are going to be in this auction. I still think they should be given another chance, especially Meredith. But yeah, it's just another showing that Punjab Kings' money did not really, that the money that they spent did not help the team, well, improve the team much at all. So as far as the signings, anyone can be signed really. It's if you go into an auction with two players, I mean, who can I actually predict? There is one player probably, and I think if Mumbai Indians sign him back, which maybe they would, but Quinton de Kock, since KL Rahul isn't in Punjab Kings anymore, Quinton de Kock could be a very good replacement. Scores many runs, and as a keeper as well, a very good keeper. And as a keeper, I think it'd be a very kind of improvement on KL Rahul. And the thing is, establishing an opening partnership with Mayank Agarwal and Quinton de Kock, I think will be one of the best in the tournament, and really I think it will put the team in good stead once again with the top with the openers being very good ones. So I think that's the signing which I think that if they make, it'll be a very good signing. But apart from that, I honestly don't really know. I think Mark Room did quite well in the last season if he bats at number 4, but they should make sure they don't load the top order or the batting with the overseas players. I think that their bowling is the one that they really have to think about, is because they didn't load the batting in previous season. They still did buy Meredith and Jai Richardson, but the problem is that if you're relying on Mohammad Shami to be your lead bowler, if you look at all the other franchises, look at their lead bowler, then you look at Mohammad Shami for Punjab. I think he probably, as far as his white ball cricket is concerned, he probably bowls the best for Punjab, but even then, comparing to other teams, it was never really going to work. So yeah, I think that they have to really fix up their bowling attack and establish a core to their side, and I wish them luck. They have the most money out of all the teams in this auction, 72 crores. So yeah, I wish them luck, the best of luck. So that is, I think, 4 teams done, and the 5th team I'm going to talk about is Kolkata Knight Riders. So they've retained Andre Russell, Venkatesh Iyer, Varun Chakravarti, and Surya Narayan. So straight away, look at these retentions. They are good retentions, but there's also a gamble to, I'd say, associated to all of them. Because, first of all, the player who I understand, the thing is, based on what they thought of Shubman Gill before, I thought he would be retained instead of Venkatesh Iyer. But I think that, as I said, a dearth of seam bowling all-rounders in India. I think that him, with the impact that he gave in the last season's second half, I think that, yeah, he probably warranted or half warranted a retention. I think that after a while I warmed up to the decision and thought it's actually a good retention. Okay, hefty price tag, but I just think that as I said, the role that he fills in the side, I think that's what warranted that money. And Andre Russell, 12 crores. Now, yes, he's a brilliant player in T20 cricket, but ever since 2019, there hasn't really been the 12 crore performance. And he virtually never really plays a full season in any IPL season. He's too injury prone. And that's the thing. It's just the fact that this team requires Andre Russell to perform. Yes, they had Dinesh Karthik and Owen Morgan in that power pack trio. Whereas if you look at the statement player in that side, it is, even out of those 3, it is Andre Russell, where you'd really think he can just completely take the game away. And I just think that the KKR would really be looking for Andre Russell to do all. They've paid a lot of money for him, 12 crores, and yeah, let's see how it goes. And Varun Chakravarti, so that for Russell, the injury concern is a big thing as well, as I said. And the same for Chakravarti and Narayan, because Chakravarti, I think he kind of has some knee problems, I think. And that's the reason why he bowls brilliantly. I think he was very unfairly dropped from the Indian T20 side after bowling in unfavourable conditions in the T20 World Cup, when in the Dubai night games, it becomes a lot easier to bat. And especially with the dew that there was in the first game, I think that the fact that he bowled at least 3 overs well, he only really gave runs in his last over, and he bowled 0 for 23 in the last game. in the game against New Zealand. I think that it was very unfair to drop him, but I'm happy that he's been picked for the price that he's been retained in for KKR. Him and Narayan, as far as output, the best spin bowling duo currently in this tournament. But once again, the injury concern for him. He manages to stay fit quite a lot in IPL seasons, but I hope that he really does manage to in this season. Same for Narayan. I just think that. He's a very, again, last season I thought it reminded me of the 2014 tournament, kind of similar to that, with the feeling that you got when he bowled. I really think that he was brilliant last season. And once again, it's the fact that if he keeps fit, then KKR will be a formidable force if all their injury-prone players stay fit for at least a substantial part of the season. But they have to stay fit. And it's pretty much always been the case in the last few years. Especially since 2018, the KKR have relied on these players who, even whether it be Chris Lynn as well in previous seasons, where you'd think that they relied on him to stay fit. They rely on these overseas players to give them the results, and also now look at Chakravarti as well. But there's always an injury concern with them. So I just hope for them that the players stay fit, and. They're a very exciting side to watch, and let's see what they do in this auction. They have, I think they have. I don't actually have the money that KKR have. I think with what I've written here, they have 54 crores. Be my calculation, but I'm saying that I'm not sure if it's right. But that's KKR, and I think I'm going to end this first video here. And so the next video is coming soon, where I talk about the other 5 franchises. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. Please share this video with your friends, and remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?